What?
Let's talk about baleen whales.
Baleen.
They're whales that have baleen. Baleen is like straw instead of teeth that hangs down
That
and
Nemo
up
stuck
from
in?
their jaws.
Ew. They're ugly.
And what these things do is they swallow up a bunch of seawater, and then they use their tongue to push the seawater out through the baleen. And the seawater filters out the little critters that are in the water. Krill is a good thing to eat if you have baleen. But you can eat fish too. Anything that they can swallow.
Don't they blow up the excess water through the little blowhole?
No. You're right. You mean out
Was
through
Nemo alive?
out this way?
Yeah.
Was Nemo alive?
No, not the excess water that they swallow up. That goes out through the
They eat
baleen.
crawfish.
But if water does get in their blowhole, they can blow it back out.
So was Nemo just wrong?
Nemo was wrong?
I mean,
I
they were in the mouth, the water
And then
level...
they came out the blowhole?
No, the water level
That's what I
dropped,
was saying.
and then he lifted up his tongue, and they fell down his throat,
Yeah.
and then they shut up.
Oh, really? Well, I don't know.
Big
Maybe
lie.
some of them do that.
Here we go.
It might be right.
Nemo lie. You get ready, George.
So here are all the different types of baleen whales.
Teeth. That guy's cute.
There's the northern right whale. That's the kind we have right off of our coast. They come down here to mate and calve. And then the mink whale, humpback whale, bride's whale, bowhead whale, fin whale, the blue whale, that's the biggest, the sei whale, and the gray whale.
Wait, the blue whale's a baleen whale?
Yes. That's the biggest animal that's ever existed on the planet.
How bigger is it?
Even bigger than the
How big is it?
dinosaurs.
Even bigger than the American.
Yep.
How much larger is it than the sperm whale? Do they
Much
know?
bigger.
Like,
Sperm whale maybe half its size. I don't know.
how big would the megalodon be compared to it?
Much smaller.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How big is it compared to a human?
The megalodon was big as a bus,
Dang.
but this
That's like 40
thing
buses.
is hundreds of feet long.
So it's extinct, right?
The blue whale? No, it's still around.
So you're saying it's small? What?
It is not small.
Anything but.
They say it's so big that you could crawl through its aorta,
Sounds
What
which
cool.
is
is the
that?
big blood vessel going from the heart.
Dang. That's ginormous.
Pretty big. Baleen whales are larger than toothed whales, and females are bigger than males. The female is the big one with baleen whales.
Mm.
They have two blowholes, which toothed whales only had one blowhole. Baleen whales have two blowholes. So you can look at the spout. If you see two things of water coming up, that's a baleen whale. Blowholes can close to become watertight while the whale dives. They can close their nostrils. Wouldn't it be good if you could close your nostrils?
It would.
I'm trying, but I can't do it. I'm not a whale. Solitary or live in small groups called pods. Did you know a group of whale is called a pod?
I did.
Now you know. And knowledge is power.
I did.
Here are some of the different dives. There are whale watchers out there. Have any of you ever done any whale watching? You done some whale watching?
Alaska.
Yeah, I did some in Hawaii. And you go out and you look for the whales, and people who are good at this can spot the kind of whale it is from the side, or when it starts diving, or if you're looking at the tail as it goes up. You can tell what kind of whale it is. Each whale has a little bit different type. These are the ones off of our beaches, the right whales. Normally they don't come in close enough for us to see it from our beaches because we have such shallow water here. But if you go further out, these things are in the deeper waters. Have y'all ever seen the statue of it next to the lighthouse? They have a statue of one of these.
The one that's like By the playground and by
Yeah.
the pool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a right whale statue. Did you know this was a right whale mating ground?
It's a good picture.
There's some baleen. If you look up close at it, it's got these little ridges that hold hair. These things are like hair. And that will trap organisms. So you simply take a big gulp of water and then strain the water through these little baleen teeth, and the organisms will get stuck, and then you just use your tongue to lick off the baleen. And then you swallow it.
So they just have to do that all day.
That's what they do.
Do they eat normal fish too? Or just whatever?
If they can get it, if they can swallow it, they can. Yeah. But normal fish are harder to catch. It's pretty easy to catch plankton though. Or krill, you know, those things they can swim and just.
How often do they have to eat?
They eat all day, I think. They're just constantly going. Here we go. He's trying to get some fish. He's trying to get some fish. See, they're getting away from him.
Dang.
Now, I want you to notice something on this video. Do you see how the sides look like an accordion there?
Mm-hmm.
That's so his mouth can expand. And so it'll stretch and fill with water. And the stretching movement of his mouth here pulls water in. I can see he got a couple of them. See a couple fish fell in there. So as he opens wide this accordion-like stomach and front of his body, that actually pulls water in. The opening of that suctions some water in, so that something that's not a real fast swimmer can't escape. Isn't that a cool picture? Average 1 year pregnancies. Pregnant for a year, then 7 to 11 month lactation period. That's how long the baby feeds from the mother's milk. For around 11 months. And then baby whales can have babies once they reach 5 years old. So they mature somewhat quickly compared to people. But they aren't even full grown then. They're not full grown until about age 20 is when they reach full size. And they can live over 100 years, some of them. It's hard to know exactly how long they can live. But they have found some whales that were caught by vessels or washed up on shore, and they found harpoons in them from the 1800s stuck into their body. So they know those things were around in the 1800s. So they're over 100 years old. Isn't that cool?
Dang.
Somebody tried to harpoon it 100-some years ago, and the harpoon, the end of it, the metal end of it, stuck. And then when it died, all those 100 years later, it was still there.
Could have been a mermaid.
Could have been a mermaid. That's a good point. Whales do this thing called breaching, where they jump out of the water and slam back into it. And why they do that, no one's really sure. They could do it because they're trying to scratch an itch.
Yeah, that's what I was
think.
thinking. I was actually.
They could do it because they're trying to maybe escape some sort of predator or something, but there's no real predators for whales that big.
He's just having fun.
They can do it for fun, as some people think.
He's just bullying.
Some people think they do it to see where they are. That they jump up and they're looking around to see, okay, where's the land and where do I need to go? They can do it to, some of them have been seen doing that into a school of fish to stun some of the fish, and then they eat them. Some of them have done it onto a boat. And so they think that the boat made it mad and it was trying to sink the boat. And they've sunk boats doing that.
Oh, good.
Usually, though, if they do it on a boat, they're going to injure themselves too. So you don't see that happen very often.
Do they fight?
I don't know.
They're nice.
I do know that they scold their young by running into them and running them into the bottom of the ocean and stuff like that.
They do that on
Like giving them a
purpose?
spanking, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they fight with one another that way. That's a good question.
They ram them.
Yeah, they'll kind of just nudge them down into the bottom of the ocean if they do something wrong. They go too near a propeller or something like that.
No, look at when they're surfing.
The mother will punish
When
them,
they're surfing.
so they'll learn.
It's the ray rising.
Video footage?
Of the deep.
I would really take a whale of time.
The Adrian Peterson of the deep.
I'd be ashamed.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott Pearson.
That's pumped.
Derek Rose the deep.
It's a weird shape. It's frozen. I don't know.
My name is Luke Akins. I'm a professional aerial athlete.
That's not the whale.
Why would he jump from me? That dude's about to get.
Awesome.
Is that just a GoPro commercial?
That's a GoPro commercial. But it was a cool GoPro commercial. There's a lot of strandings of whales.
It's because the Navy's doing those thingies.
Well, that is one idea that,
Those tests.
remember, they
Sonar?
Yeah.
navigate with echolocation. So they think that loud sounds in the ocean can damage their hearing. And so they don't hear the echoes that are coming back correctly. And it can cause them to turn in the wrong direction. Now we know when they're swimming in pods, big groups, that there's one leader usually, and all the rest follow the leader. So if the leader is messed up and goes the wrong way, they'll all follow him. Even if it's to their death, they aren't smart enough to realize that it's a bad thing.
Bro, stop, bro.
And so, you get what is called these strandings or beachings of sometimes a lot of whales, sometimes it's just one. The sonar that the boats use to bounce sound waves off the bottom is sometimes really loud, and they think that could be causing the damage.
Can't hear it.
But it also could be other things. It could be just a whale gets sick and is going in the wrong direction. Whales get old and die and get old and confused just like people do. Could be a diseased whale. It could be an injured whale going in the wrong direction. There's all sorts of possibilities, and we don't really know exactly why they happen. A lot of times when a stranding does happen, people will go and try to put the whale back in the ocean. And that's usually unsuccessful. Often when they get them back, the whale will just re-strand itself.
Why?
And we'll keep doing that until it dies.
No.
So often they can't be saved once they do that. But every once in a while they do save some of them. So, people keep trying.
I'd be too scared.
It is dangerous to try and save those things because they're so strong. Yes,
A
go ahead.
beached whale is rescued by the Mexican Navy in Manzanillo on Mexico.
What'd you say? What were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say I saw a beached whale one time.
Where?
In front of the lodge.
Really?
Yeah, it was a pygmy sperm.
Didn't they blow up a whale?
Did it stay there? They get it back.
Oh no, we tried to push it back into the. We actually did push it back into the ocean.
And did it swim away?
Yeah.
A bunch of
Oh,
bombs
good.
and blew it up.
But then, like the next week, it landed on Jekyll.
The next week what?
It landed on Jekyll.
Oh, it was the same one? Yeah, it must have been sick.
Whale is rescued by the Mexican Navy in Manzanillo on Mexico's Pacific coast. The whale suffered very little damage during its ordeal.
That middle part clean.
What?
The one-year-old humpback whale that beached itself in Manzanillo on Mexico's Pacific coast has been guided back into the ocean, the Navy said on Monday. The roughly 30-foot-long 6-ton whale was found beached on Saturday evening by a fisherman on the beach El Eden, south of Punta Campos. A 100-person animal rescue team from Mexico's Navy, including veterinarians and a curator, responded and found that the whale was in good condition, but that it had injured its right flipper from lying on it for so many hours. The Navy gave the whale, which had suffered scrapes and scratches from rocks at the shoreline, steroid and antibiotic injections, and guided it back to sea. The Navy said the team was hoping that the young marine mammal would reunite with its mother or school of whales. It wasn't clear why the whale had beached itself, although it might have done so after getting lost or separated from its mother or school of whales.
What were you going to say, Carson?
Oh, yeah, have you seen
Let's watch the orca.
They blow them up, yeah.
Yeah.
Why'd they blow them up?
Just beach. And they can't do it.
They were trying to clear it off the beach, and they put a bunch of explosives in it and blew it up, and it just
Went all
blew
over
the
place.
stuff everywhere.
It was a big mess.
And almost injured somebody. Here's a bunch more stranding.
Just cut it up.
Yeah, I went out.
They are one of nature's greatest nomads, travelling thousands of miles a year. But now a huge pod of dozens of pilot whales have become beached on New Zealand's Farewell Spit. Around 100 animals were trapped in low tide, sparking a desperate rescue effort to dig, float or lever the creatures back into the water. One ingenious idea was to float one whale and use it as bait to lure the others out, as pilot whales will often follow one leader. But on Tuesday, more than 39 whales who had been freed managed to re-beach themselves. Up to 34 are already believed to have died. Farewell Spit is one of the most common beaching sites in the world. This is the third, but by far the largest, within 3 months.
They just booed him. He's bullied. Yeah, so people, if you bull too hard, your heart rate just gets in.
Whales are still hunted.
Whale wars.
And they were just about to be hunted to extinction, and some of them were hunted to extinction. Will, you with me up here?
Yep.
So in 1946, 14 nations formed the IWC, International Whaling Commission, and they tried to control whale hunting.
Did Japan agree on that?
I don't think so, no. In 1986, that's when I graduated high school, by the way, declared a moratorium on commercial whaling. So they're saying you cannot hunt these things as a business, basically. But they didn't have any way of enforcing that, and some people didn't agree to it. In 1972, in the United States, we passed the Marine Mammal Protection Act, and basically that says any marine mammals who that exist cannot be hunted, and you are not allowed to import any products from anyone who does hunt them. Or you can't export products, obviously, if they're not allowed to be hunted. So that goes for all marine mammals, not just whales. So we're talking about sea otters, sea lions, seals. You can't hunt any of those.
Even if they're not in danger?
Even if they're not in danger, but I think almost all of them are in danger, or what's the other word I'm looking for?
Extinct?
Not in danger.
Critical?
Threatened.
Threatened. endangered. Most of them are threatened or endangered.
On the edge.
Look at, this is a list of a bunch of different types of whales and what their status is, and you can see endangered. There's one that's not at much of a risk.
Vulnerable.
Endangered, low risk, extinct.
So what is vulnerable? Like, what do they mean by that? Like, are they have like a decent number?
A decent number. So I think it goes vulnerable,
Threatened.
then threatened, then endangered,
Yeah, extinct.
then extinct. Yeah.
Lower risk.
So you can see the numbers. This is the number there used to be, and this is the number now. It used to be 2 million sperm whales. Now there's 500,000. That's 1/4. Used to be 240,000 blue whales. Now 5,000. It's not many. Especially something that can't reproduce for 5 or 10 years.
The Atlantic gray is gone.
Yep,
No.
they're all gone, extinct.
No.
I could find
If you found one, did you get money for it?
Yeah, getting famous.
For real? Bet.
Let's go.
The next part of the book goes into some of the different types of whales, and this is the blue whale. That's the largest thing. 100 feet long, 200 tons.
So how do they know how heavy it is?
That's a good question. I guess it's probably just an estimate based on the size. They're not going to get one of those onto some scales.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you can pretty much estimate if it's that long and it's that wide, you know what it's made of. They've also caught these things before. They used to be hunted. So they bring them on, cut them up into pieces. You could weigh every piece if you wanted to. We call these types of whales rorquals. Can you say rorqual?
Rorqual.
It's hard to say. Rorqual.
Rorqual.
So rorquals, they're all related. They have kind of short heads. So the head of this whale from there to there is less than 1/4 of its body length. Some whales have real long heads that might be over 1/3 of their body length. But this one has a shorter head, so they call it rorqual. Diet consists almost exclusively of krill, which is a little tiny shrimp, related to a shrimp.
Shrimp.
And they exist in huge numbers in cold waters. So you usually find these blue whales in colder waters, but they do migrate.
Doris, this Doris.
Oh God. Oh God. Blue whale. Wow.
There's a humpback whale. Now the humpback whale is kind of famous for its songs. The humpback whales sing these songs. They have these giant vocal cords that vibrate. And the songs they've studied in detail. Each individual has a different song, and the songs kind of run in their families. And they recognize each other by these humpback whale songs. And water is so good at conducting sound that these things can communicate with one another over hundreds of miles. They can hear the song hundreds of miles away. Like a whale here, if it was offshore here, could communicate with one up in like North Carolina through just their loud song.
Bro.
Here's the sound of the song.
I speak with.
Oh yeah, yeah. Same, bro, same.
So the scientists have been studying these songs, and they figured out that the songs.
Are they actually that loud? Like.
Yeah, they're real loud. I mean, that's amplified a little bit because you can hear how loud it is when it's breathe out. What's that?
Courting. What is courting?
Courting?
Yeah,
like,
it says in territorial or courting.
Courting is like finding a mate. Like I'm courting,
okay.
Courting my lady here. These things will do is they've recorded these songs and they do these songs and then they'll repeat the same song after about, it depends on the species and the time, but the sounds can last for anywhere from 10 or 20 or 30 minutes all the way up to 4, 5, 6 hours, and then it repeats. They'll do it again. And they've noticed, because they followed individuals year after year, you can recognize individual whales especially after you work with these for a while. You can recognize them by sight. And their songs will slightly change each year. There's small differences, and they're trying to figure out what these songs mean. So the humpback whale songs are kind of famous. They took a recording of humpback whales and they put it on this big CD that they put onto the Voyager spacecrafts that are flying off in space, out into space. They put all these different pictures and stuff and different sounds, people talking and different languages of humans. But one of the things they put on there was humpback whale songs, because they figure humpback whales have been around for maybe 200 or 300, or not that much, maybe 30 or 100 times as long as people have been. So their songs are their language is a lot older.
They sound like dolphins and stuff?
They sound like, dolphins are a lot of clicks.
Yeah, yeah.
You remember those clicks and those high I don't think so. I think just the whale songs. There's some humpback whales. Whales have some of the longest migrations of any ocean creatures, and this shows some of their migrations. A lot of them will migrate down to Hawaii. Hawaii is kind of a famous place for breeding, so they spend their summers up here in these colder waters, and then when the winter comes around, it gets too cold for them up there, so they go back down here and they breed in the winter in warmer waters, and then they'll go back. So that's thousands of miles going here, and then you get some going back and forth this way, and I guess the different colors are different types of whales. I don't have the key to this thing, but
I got a question.
Yeah.
So you know how like we can get like pneumonia and stuff from like going from like hot to cold really fast and stuff. Can animals like that still get them, or any animal with like lungs, they can get pneumonia?
They do. Animals get sick. Whales will get diseases just like humans will. And those animals will die from them, just like humans can. They probably die a lot more from diseases than we do because we have modern medicine and they don't. So yeah, it often happens, and usually the adults survive better than the babies. The babies will succumb, and then the older end of, just like us, the old ones will die from disease too. The right whale, this is the one we have off of our coast. It's got these white things on its face are called callosities, and they're actually made from lice. You know, lice like you get in your hair? There's a special kind of lice that gets on these whales, and it's somewhat parasitic, I think, but it doesn't kill them or anything. And you can recognize different right whales from their callosities that they have growing on them. And like I say, that's the one we have offshore here, so it's kind of good to know about the right whales. Gray whales. I'm not sure what's the deal with gray whales and sei whales. But there's a couple more types that are in our book. Let's see, how's the sea whale doing, or the sei whale? Not too bad, it's endangered. What about the Atlantic gray whale?
Oh, extinct. It's dead.
Atlantic gray is extinct.
It's
the
dead.
Western Pacific gray whale is 100 to 200 individuals, not so good.
I'm gonna go find a gray Atlantic whale so I can get
Eastern
cash.
Pacific gray has more.
I'm trying to get cash. We gotta go find it.
Yeah, you'll become famous. You could be a famous whale finder.
It'll only be a one-time thing.
So read the chapter on whales. Could be another